Alrighty, here we are. It's actually getting a bit too much. So far I've been only using a WebSocket, and suddenly I got a socket IO over here. It's kind of the same. You are emitting the message, you are just getting the messages as well. So this is how you are just simply going on here. But many more things are here that just went over my head. First of all, this socket.id, like where am I getting it from? The thing is that just looking at the backend code, it's gonna be hard to just get the idea, but the overall thing is that am I gonna be getting socket like where? Just a minute. When it comes to using socket, so let me go through the documentation of socket.io. Maybe I will be able to get something from there. Socket.io. Let's see what exactly am I gonna be getting there. Get started. They're simply giving us the way exactly how we can just simply get started, and after that serving HTML, that's fine. So here we are. As soon as the connection is ready, so I have socket.io on connection. Whenever the connection is ready, user connected, that's fine. And after that, what they are doing on the client side, they are creating a client, and once that particular client is created, it simply gets connected. So on the clients over here, they have the socket, and a user connected, disconnect. Whenever the user disconnected, fine. This is also okay. Let's continue from here on. And here socket.io form element and all. Using that socket, they are just simply emitting the message on the client server side, input.value, and this is how things go on the server side. Socket.on chat message, I'm just simply getting my message. This is how it's going on. Apart from this particular thing, io.connection, socket broadcast emit. Okay, socket.broadcast. Maybe it is used to broadcast it to all the sockets, if I'm not wrong. Having said that, if you want to send message to everyone, yeah, that's what I was saying. Except for a certain emitting socket, we have a broadcast flag for emitting from that. It's better to go through documentation. It is a good one. By the way, the documentation has been written in a good way. io.connection socket emit, it just simply emits it to all the user, and socket.on chat message, I'm gonna be getting message over here. This is the front end side. Once I got the message, after getting the message, chat message item, create element, text element, adding to the window scroll. What window scroll to 0 document body scroll height, that's fine. It's simply scrolling it. But at the end of the day, whenever I'm just getting the chat message over here, so I'm just simply adding the message, something like this. As for sending the message, so whenever I click on the submit button of the form, socket.emit chat input value, and this is how I'm even sending the values. That's fine. Let's continue. The next one, connection hello. Okay, emit socket.emit hello 1. Okay, this is what so you can send any number of arguments, and all serializable data structures are supported, including objects like array, buffer, etc. So client to server, socket.emit hello and 1 2, and then this did this. Oh, interesting. So it's like you can send more than one things at the same time. So socket.emit, it is just simply emitting, and then these values are gonna be sent on the client side. You have to just simply get them, that's it, nothing else. From server to client, whenever you are emitting them, so something like this. So on the server side you are doing like this, and on the client side you are just simply getting them like this to socket.on. You will get all the values over here. So 1 2 3. So in that case, I'm listening to this hello message, and after that I have this particular callback function, and 1 2 3, I'm just simply getting everything. So 1 2 3 in the sense 1 2, and then the whole object. Bad hello json.stringify, good hello name json. Interesting. Or not needed, that's fine. Client to server timeout. Alrighty, clear. The thing is that we can emit more than one messages or more than one kind of variables and all at the same time. and that's what we are doing over here. So when it comes to the socket.io, just a sec, coming back to this particular point. So first of all, we are getting the connection, whether the connection is ready or not. Once the connection is ready, then this is the join call event that of course I will trigger from the client side and all. I will be just sending the path. Again, path is important because the path will be saved inside connections, and path is gonna be kind of a room. Okay, so one room will be created using that particular path, and then many people can just simply join that particular path. It's as simple as that. So there's gonna be a path and many people will be joining. Path in the sense a particular address where people can go and just simply join. Apart from this particular thing, I have socket.on signal. So again, this is again an event that will be triggered from the client side, and over here I'm getting just simply two ID, like where I have to send it and message. So it's like io.2. This is where it will be sent and emit this is the signal message kind of event is kind of, this is the type that will be handled on the client side. So I can call it kind of an event, and then socket.id and message. These are the two things that I'm actually sending from this side. The thing is that socket.id is not kind of available here. Okay, do we get the ID socket.id directly? Because I'm sending the socket.id, and this socket.id is actually directly connected to the connection that I have right now. So this is the socket connection I got as soon as the user connected, and as soon as the user connected, so I got two things, right? I got this particular socket, and I'm making it socket.id over here. So probably let's do one thing. No, probably nothing else. Let me ask this question directly to ChatGPT, because of course for that thing I will have to make a proper front end so that I can actually check. When using socket, do we get socket.id too? Yes, bro. We do get. Okay, good to know that. Thank you. So ultimately, we do get the socket.id. That was something confusing me, but right now it's clear. So when you are using socket.io, at that time you get the ID too related to that particular socket. So you got the socket over here. You are calling the events. You are listening for the events for that particular socket. Apart from that particular thing, you get the socket.id to just simply recognize that particular socket and all. And on the client side, I'm simply sending the socket ID as well as the message. Once I've got an event, I've received an event called signal, and then I'm just simply sending that message back. Then there is something called chat message. I will be getting the data and sender from the client side, of course, and then I will be doing something or the other. Lastly, I have disconnect, and when it comes to disconnecting, so I'm getting the path. So while you are disconnecting that, so you will have to disconnect that particular room ultimately. So first of all, you are checking whether connections.path it does exist or not. If it does not exist, so you are making it empty array. And if it does exist, after that what you are doing, so connections.path.push and socket.id. So you are just kind of pushing the ID. Connections that has a particular path, inside that particular path you are sending the socket ID of the users. That simply means socket IDs of the users are gonna be pushed, and after that time online socket.id and new date is going to be pushed inside. Once you have the socket.id, so using that particular socket.id inside time.online, you are actually creating a key, and inside that you are just assigning this value, data value. And apart from this particular thing, letter connections length, so you are going through all the connections, and after that io.2 connections path a, so inside one connection there is a path, and I will be getting the path from here as only. I will be getting the path from here. So what you are actually doing, that I'm emitting the message user joined. This is wrong, yeah, or maybe I have written the code the wrong place. This is the code of joining the room. How am I just simply having it inside the disconnect? This is insane. Just a minute, give me a moment. 1 2 3 4 5. Missing something. Okay, user joined, user left. There's a lot. Okay, fine. I wrote the code, though I've been following him, but yeah, guess what? Yeah, I am wrong. That is what, it was not making any sense at all. I actually wrote the code at the wrong place. Sorry for that. Let me correct that right now. In that case, just a minute. So let me write the code at the right place. This is not the code of this connection, rather here the user is actually trying to join the room, and that is why it wasn't making sense at all. It should actually be inside this section. As for this disconnect, let's remove it from here. Alrighty, now let's talk about it. Sorry, I've been lost in my own world. So here we are. The user is actually trying to join the room, and for joining the room, the user is just simply sending that particular path. Using that the right path, user can actually join the room. And when it comes to joining the room, so first of all, I will check whether that particular path already exists. Again, inside the connection, you will have that particular path. Inside that particular path, that path is actually a very array. And inside that particular array, you will have all the users connected to that. How will you find the user? You will find the user using the socket.id. Fortunately, over here you directly get the socket.id if a connection is created. And when it comes to WebSocket, over there you have to create some kind of identification ID for yourself. So this is the benefit of using socket.io. By the way, let's continue from here on. So I'm just simply checking whether it is ultimately undefined or not. In case if it is undefined, I will be making it an array. So inside connections, there is a path key, and that key is just an array, as simple as that. Though there is nothing inside that particular array, but as people keep joining, the socket.id of that particular user will be pushed inside this particular path. Again, this is an array. Path is kind of name of that room. Call it anything. Call it the path of the room. Call it just the room name. Ultimately, it's kind of gonna be the room name or the entire path. That doesn't really matter. So once you get your path, that's just a key. That is key is kind of an array. That array contains all the users connected to that particular room, as simple as that. Let's continue from here on. So connections.path push if a user tries to join that. So I will get the socket.id of the user. Again, this automatically is created. This is automatically created, so that's really a good thing. Using this socket.id, you can even find the socket of that particular user, and of course ID you already have to recognize that. And then socket.id this ID is saved inside the timed online, and you are just saving the date over there. That's pretty much fine. Then what you are doing over here, you are notifying the other users that you have joined the room. So you are just going through all the connection paths. So inside connection there are many paths, and in those paths there are some users connected to those each particular path. Okay, so what I'm doing over here, io.2 not io.2, I'm again iterating from 0 to the length of that particular path, and then not only that particular path, kind of connections.path, that means as many paths are there, I'm just simply going through all of them. And what am I doing? io.2, where do I have to send? So connections.path, the path that I have right now, and a is just the index. Right now it is 0, then it will become 1, then it will become 2, and it will keep going till the length of that particular path. This path is selectively, I mean this path is sent from the client side, so you are directly getting the path over here. So whichever room you are trying to join, the path of that particular room you will already get over here. And once you have the path, you will be finding that particular connection. Once you have the connection, you will be getting the array containing all the users connected, and you can get connected in the same room as well. So you are just simply saying that connections.path, you just found the right path, and you are just getting the index edge, and ultimately using a, a is gonna be 0, then 1, then 2. This index will keep increasing, and this is how you are getting the IDs of the users. Over here it just simply returns the IDs of those users who are already in that particular room, and you are just simply emitting the message to that to all the users, so that everyone knows that okay, someone joined this particular room, as simple as that. So the first this is kind of event, I'm not sure what to call it, but using because this is the name that you are emitting from here, using this name you will be listening for this particular event. I'm calling it event right now, later I may get a better name. So this is kind of an event, type of event that you are triggering from this side, from the server side. You will be listening for this same event on the client side. So user joined, and socket.id you are sending from here. Socket.id is just simply the ID of the user who actually joined, and this particular message will be broadcasted to all the users, so that all the users can just simply see the ID of the user that who joined. And apart from that particular thing, connections.path you are actually sending from it, and when you are actually broadcasting it, people will be able to see like okay, this is the path of the user. And connections.path is just simply provides the array ultimately. So what you are doing, you are sending the ID of that particular user and you are sending the IDs of all the users. Kind of this is the array. Again, how it's gonna be used we'll see in future, but slowly things are getting clear ki how socket.io is actually used. Honestly, I had I wasn't aware of this thing at all about socket.io. This is kind of the first time, not properly, but I just had a look earlier, got the chance to just experience a bit earlier, but again everything was wiped out completely. Let's continue from here on. Apart from this particular thing, message.path, if that's not equals to undefined. So if message is not equals to undefined, then what am I doing over here? Pretty much interesting. Gotta understand this particular stuff as well. First of all, what am I doing over here? Simply once the user joins, I'm simply notifying the other users that okay, a user joined the room. As simple as that. This should be easy peasy. Let's continue from here on. And one more thing, I'm just simply pushing that user there, and this. We can do one thing because right now we are actually notifying all the users. Don't you think so? Including the user who joined the room. So we may just not notify the other user who actually joined the room, and we can notify the users who are there in the room already. But this is the future thing. We may be getting it done, or maybe it is already the best way. We will be just simply having a look at it later. Apart from this particular thing, message, this is again an object, and path and undefined. So again, this is pretty simple. Inside message you have path key, and if that's equals to undefined, in that case what am I gonna be doing? Let a messages path and the length, that simply means path is again gonna be an array over here. So messages, that particular path, and then that path is actually an array, and over here you will have all the messages. Similarly, you have connections path, and then you will have the array, and inside this array you will have all the socket IDs of all the users, as simple as that. And then here we are. So io.to, this is where I have to send. So socket.id, where am I getting it from? This is the socket.id who actually joined the room, and then I'm actually emitting the message right now. And when I'm actually emitting the message, chat message path a data, message path a sender, message path a socket ID sender. So what it is like, inside message I have path. This path is actually an array, but inside that array there are objects. So it's actually like this. So let me have some demo messages over here. Demo messages in the sense, inside a connection I have some kind of path. So suppose this is my path, and that particular path will contain an actually array, and that array is gonna be the IDs of the user. So 1 2 3 4 ID ID 1, then just example, okay, ID 2, ID 3, etc. Let's simply comment this. Apart from this particular thing, when it comes to this, so I will have my path here too, again one more time. And not only that, after that I will have the object, an array, and inside the array I will have what? I will have few things here. The first one is gonna be data. Data is gonna be actually data here, or my data, just call it anything. And then you will have sender and socket sender, socket ID sender, crazy name, but okay, that's gonna be sender who actually sent this particular message, and sender name, etc. And could be sender, or just simply have the sender over here. Later I will figure it out. And lastly you will have socket ID sender. Yeah, this is right actually. Sender ID. This is how it's gonna be going at. Sender name, let's have it here. Okay. So far so good. So this is how things are actually getting done. Let me comment this as well. So inside messages I have this, and when it comes to this one, time online, so I will have my ID, so maybe ID 1, and inside this I will have time, so maybe 6 o'clock. What else? This is really bad, I know. This is not the right time, not the right way to just mention the time, but this is just an example. Here we go. So this is how we are gonna be going on. And then first of all, whenever the user joins the room, so first of all what I'm doing, I'm checking whether there's anybody in the connection or not. If there's nobody, I'm just assigning an array to the connection path, and after that ID of that particular user to the path of that particular connection. yeah, something like that. Then time online, I'm just simply setting the time as well. Lastly, I'm notifying all the users over here. Add the socket ID of the user to the connections path. This is the first thing. Time is okay. Let over here notify all the users that about the joining a new about the new user joining the room, or yeah, room, fine. So later connections path length, I connect users, so ultimately I'm gonna be getting the IDs of those users. I'm just simply emitting it user joined, and this is how it's simply gonna be going ahead. I'm even returning the connections path, all the user socket.id. This is fine. What am I doing over here? Message path, if that's equals to undefined, then if message.path is equals to undefined, in that case message length, okay, going if that's not equals to undefined, am I crazy? I am crazy actually. Okay, so if that's not equals to undefined, then that means there are messages inside that, and that simply means I'm just gonna be going from 0 to till the length of those messages, and io.to socket.id and emitting send messages to the new user, as simple as that. So send messages, send previous messages to the new user. So previous messages are actually going to be sent. Is that so? Does it really need to happen whenever the user joins? So I'm gonna be having the messages inside this. So the user joins, I will be sending all the previous messages. Yeah, so send previous messages to the new user, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm just simply sending the data over here. So I'm sending the sender over here, and I'm sending the socket ID sender. So socket ID of the sender, and this, okay, and send previous data sender, and sender ID, no, socket ID sender to new user. Finally, yeah, it's clear. It got too much initially. Other thing is that I have to complete it as soon as possible. This is not something that I want to just simply get stuck for a long time. Let's simply get this thing done as soon as possible. Maybe within a couple of days. That's it. I will get it completed, because I have to make many things on my own instead of being stuck in this tutorial hell. So it's better to just simply get the things done as soon as possible, and then rebuild. I have many ideas of building it. Like I have learned so many things, and if I actually just get all those things applied in a project, like using TypeScript, using Next.js, using Better Author. Okay, you can use a Next.js as well, you can use Better Author as well, then combining all the things together, or even we could have used the passport.js. So there are many things. It's all about using them as soon as possible. So let's get it done, and then this is how we will be using them. For now, let's continue. What time is it? 1 hour 45 minutes. I'm thirsty actually. Not really worried about leaving my chair, but just a bit thirsty. So I'm gonna be going, just taking a break for 5 minutes. The live will still be on, and after that I'll be back and continue from here on. Just wanna get some water for me so that I can have it and then continue from here on. I'll be back within 5 minutes. Until then, take care and see you. Congratulations everybody. I spoke a lot, but at the end what happened that the mic was muted. Amazing job. Even I've been explaining the things indeed. I thought I were live, and then I just kept explaining the things, and at the end of the day what I came to know that my mic was muted. Everything was not wasted because at the end I explained and I just learned how to explain and all. But the mic was muted. It's really disappointing. Sorry for that. Okay, so if you can actually hear me right now, so what I'm doing, I've done over here so far. So if I talk about the things, so first of all, of course, I'm getting the message from the user side. So from the client side, the user is actually sending some kind of message. Inside the message, there is the data and there is the sender name. That's it. Once I got the data and sender, so first of all, I'm checking whether the socket that I got, that will definitely contain the socket ID as well. So using that particular socket ID, I'm actually checking whether the user actually belongs to a room or not. If the user does not belong to a particular room and user is still trying to send the message, that will not make any sense. And for getting that particular thing done, we had this first way. Okay, this was the first way that we had. Like again, don't try to understand this. I will not say don't try to understand this, but it's kind of hard to understand. By the way, if you does understand these stuffs, like first of all, I'm using object.inTreat and then I'm using reduce function. This part is the accumulator, this part is the current value, and I have the accumulator like this because I just want to have two values at the end of the day. That is why my accumulator is like this, and then I'm just simply returning the stuff from here and there. By the way, if you actually want to understand, it's better to understand this particular part, because over here I have named it directly accumulator. This is the current value, and then from the accumulator I'm getting these things, from the current value I'm getting these things, and then I'm returning the things and all. This is the initial value of the accumulator. Okay, it should be understandable. But at the end of the day, what we are doing at the end of the day, I'm just simply getting checking the name, path name using socket ID. So it's like looping through the object that you have, simply getting the value of that particular path and checking whether the socket exists or not, and simply returning the path name as matched room. That's it, nothing else. So this is the real thing that you are doing. It is kind of really hard to understand, I get it, but ultimately you are doing nothing but simply you have an object. Inside that object you have a path, and that path contains that path is actually an array. That array contains lots of users socket ID, and then you are looping through the path's value. That means you are looping through the array. If the array does contain the value, does contain the socket.id, like we are doing here, if it does contain the socket.id, we are just simply returning the name of that particular path. Okay, the user does belong to this row. If the user does not belong, we are not returning anything. As simple as that. So this is the bare minimum code that you will have to write, and don't ask about this one. This is at another level altogether. By the way, let's continue from here on, and I'm gonna be of course muting myself and continuing from here on. Let's see how much I can cover. this is gonna be like that. Hello, good to see you here. Let's continue. It's gonna be troublesome, but let's go ahead. So let's talk about the code that I've written so far. Okay, this is gonna be the last section. Mainly here I'm disconnecting. So let's even talk about this disconnection part, and let's talk about how it can be like what other easier way can be there, so that it's easier to understand. Like we will be just looking for the easier way to write the code, and this is how we will be getting the things done. But I never really implemented this diff, so this is the difference. I'm not really sending it. Okay, just a minute, one more thing, or maybe this difference is not quite being used over here. This simply tells the time between when the user was live. That's not quite being used over here. So I should be sending it to the user here. Maybe let's have it. You may need to send diff time here. Okay, by the way, let's see exactly what's happening over here. And again, there is definitely an easier way. First of all, we are just calculating the difference time, exactly how long the user have been live, kind of online, because user is actually disconnecting kind of disconnect. That's right. So user is disconnecting in the sense user is leaving the room, and when the user is actually leaving the room, so we had the user's online time. When the user came, at that time I just set the user's time using socket.id in the time online object, and that is why we are able to just get it here. And once we got it here, then we are just simply subtracting it by new date. Again, we need to have the absolute value, so that is why we are using math.absolute. Apart from this particular thing, we are using key here. Key in the sense we want to get the room key. Okay, and for getting the room key, we are going through a lot of code over here, but it's kind of pretty simple. First of all, json.stringify. Even before that, let's talk about this one. Object.entry connections. What it returns? It simply returns an array that contains a key that contains many arrays. In those many arrays, I mean sub child level child arrays contains the key and value. As simple as that. I have already discussed about it a lot just at the top, so I'm not gonna be talking about that. But ultimately, yeah, if there is an object and that object contains keys and key and value pairs, then when you call this particular method on that, so ultimately you will get a big level top level array. That top level array will actually contain many arrays, and those many small arrays actually contain two things: the key and the value. And once you got that, and again you got it from here, and you are first of all parsing it, and first of all you stringifying it and then parsing it, because it the array that you get that has no connection with the previous array, the connections array. Again, it doesn't really make any sense, because altogether you are creating a new array over here. But this is good to do mainly because when it comes to arrays, so there is something called reference. So if one array is being assigned to another one, so the referencing point still remains the same. But it should not really be a problem over here, because altogether object.entry connections you are creating, it just simply creates a new array. And if you are doing it, that's okay. Do it or not is completely up to you. It's your choice over here. And what it does, json.stringify, first of all, it stringifies the whole array, and after that you are passing the same thing again. So it's like all together a new array you are getting. And once you got the new array, then what you are doing, once you got the new array, then you are just simply kind of looping through the array. And looping through the array in the sense, here you will be getting the element. Okay, here you are actually getting the element, and that element is a combination of what? That element is actually an array, and that array has two things. That array has the key, and that array has the value. Okay, so name it key, name it value, something like this. So that array actually has two things, key and value. What is the key? Key is just the name, or ultimately path I'm talking about, and value is just the array. So the value contains lots of socket IDs inside it. Okay, so when it comes to key and value over here, so key is actually the path or name of the room, and when it comes to value, so value is the array of socket IDs of path, just like this, or room. So once this particular thing is done, then you are getting the key and value pairs one by one, and once you are actually getting them, then okay, let's name it K only, and let's name it V only, because I have specified key here, so that is why I'm just gonna be going ahead like this, but there could be better naming convention. So once I'm here, then what I'm doing, then I'm looping through the whole the values. So it's like inside the value I have all the socket IDs, array of all the socket IDs of the path. So I have all the socket IDs. Okay, so I'm just simply looping through all those IDs, and I'm simply checking whether the socket ID of the user who actually left does it belong to that particular array or not. So value, and this is the a is just the index, so it will just keep increasing from 0 to till the length of the array, and I'm just simply checking whether it actually the user ID is actually inside the value or not. So this is the user ID I have, or socket ID I can say. So socket ID I'm simply checking whether the socket ID is in the value, that means in the array or not. If that is in the array, then I'm gonna be simply going ahead and I will be getting my key over here as well. So if the socket ID is inside the particular array, that simply means I got my key. And once I will be even writing the simpler version of it, but overall this is happening. So once I got my key, after that what am I doing? After that, on the basis of the key, so I'm just going through all the connections over here, because there can be many connections, right? So first of all, using that particular key that I got, I'm just getting that particular connection or path or the room where the user exists. So first of all, I got that particular room. Once I got, because first of all I got the connections using that particular key, I got that particular path or the room, and once I got that particular path or the room, then I'm looping from 0 to till the length of that particular room. And once I got and then after that I'm actually getting the IDs of the user. So these are the socket IDs here I'm getting. So I'm sending the message to all the users, and I'm emitting a message called user left, and I'm just simply sending socket.id, that means this user left, and you may need to even send if time. This is completely optional, but I may be sending it later. Once this particular thing got done, after that what am I doing? After that I'm simply checking whether the connection exists or not. So connection.key, and I'm simply getting the like index of that particular connection. So connection is the object, connection.key is the array. I'm just simply getting the index of socket.id, because socket.id does exist inside that particular array. Once I got the index, then I'm just simply removing that particular kind of ID from the array. So connections is the object, connections.key is actually the array. And then splicing, I'm splicing the value. Which value do I want to splice? I want to splice the value at the index, this whatever index I got from here, and I just want to splice only one value. And after that, if the connections key dot length is equals to 0, that means inside connection object, in the connection the key, if the length is actually 0, that simply means there are no users inside that particular room or path. That simply means I'm gonna be deleting it. And let's talk about the easier way to write it. Okay, it can be written in the easier way to understand manner. Okay, so let's simply comment this. I'm just simply gonna be commenting it all, or let's uncomment it all, that doesn't really matter. I'm gonna be writing the code from here on. So the way earlier I wrote this particular code, that exactly did the same thing. Again, it's good to just write the code this way, like sooner or later you will have to write advanced type level code. I don't know whether this is advanced or not, but let's write it in a really easier to understand manner. So what do you have first of all, and what is the job? The job is simple, that you have sender, I mean socket ID. Socket ID you have. Using the socket ID, what you have to do, you have to find using that socket ID, you have to find the room name, room or room, call it room name or call it path. So you have to find that. Once you have find the room name and path, after that what you have to do, you had the socket ID, you got the room name. Once you got the room name, you are first of all letting others know. So you have to notify other users. So once you have the path, you will be getting the array of socket IDs. Once you have the array of socket IDs of that path, of course, of the path, once you have the IDs of the path, after that you will be notifying, you will be emitting a message to all the users. So kind of user left message you will be emitting to all the users. So user left message you will be sending. Once you send the user left message, then you will be removing the user. Once you have removed the user, after that what can you do? Once you have removed the user, you will even check deleting the room. So if there are no users in the room, so you will be deleting the room as well. So this is how we will be going ahead. Let's talk about the first thing. I have my socket.id, that is for sure. How can I find the name of the room? So I'm gonna be going in the easiest way possible. So suppose I have an object, it's gonna be like this for const, because my connections, mainly when it comes to these connections, I'm mainly talking about connections. So this is just simply an object, and when it comes to this, so let me even copy and paste from the top. So when it comes to connection, so this is the connection that I have. Okay, so if we have a look at this, so it would be easier to just simply write the code. So this is the connection I have. Inside the connection I have the path, that is a key, and it has some of the values, and those it has an array assigned to it, and that array contains all the possible socket connections. Okay, socket IDs and all. Okay, so what do we have to do? First of all, the job is that I have one of these socket IDs. Maybe I have ID3 or ID2, ID1, any one of them. Then using this particular ID, I have to find the name. Once I found the name, then I have to continue. So the main goal is to find this particular my path name. Okay, fine. So for const, there is a way, if you want to loop through, because there is this, there can be more ones as well. Like I have only one path, then there can be one more path as well. So if there are many paths, so first of all, your goal is to loop through all the paths. For that thing, there is a method called const, and I will be getting my what? I will be getting my path in connections. So this is how I will get all the paths from the connections. Once I actually got the path over here, after that I will check, I will get the value of this particular key, ultimately this particular path. So to get the value, so I can just simply say connections dot connections path will just simply give me this array, and now I can simply check whether it actually includes socket.io, socket.id actually. So it actually includes socket.id. So first of all, I will get this path, and then I'm gonna be checking the values inside the particular path, and if the socket.id exists, that means that is the path, otherwise that is not the path. So this is my first thing. So I'm gonna be having one more thing over here. Let key is gonna be just empty, or key is gonna be nothing here, and I hope so key is empty over here, or key can be empty string as well. And once I got that, then I will be checking, checking inside this loop, inside a conditional if statement. So I'm just simply checking inside connections, I have my path, and that path is actually an array. So I'm just simply checking whether that path value or the array actually includes the socket.id. If that does include, that simply means the key is gonna be that particular path, otherwise nothing actually. The key is gonna be empty, that's it. So this is how I'm just simply getting the key. And once I have found my socket.id, I'm just simply gonna be breaking it as well. Like once I found my key is gonna be equals to path, so I will be breaking it from here. Once I got my key, in the sense I got my path, as simple as that. Call it key, call it room, path, as simple. Call it anything. It's completely up to you. So this is kind of a room path. And after that, once I got my room path, then what will I be doing? Let me remove it, or let's have it over here so that we can just simply go through it. Once I have my room path, I got it. Then after that, user left message. I have to send a user left message. Okay. In that case, I can say I have connections. Okay. Inside the connections, using a room path, I will be getting that particular path. That's okay. Dot. Then what will I do? This simply returns me the array. That's right. What is the next thing? Dot for each, I can just simply loop through it, and right now I'm getting what will I get from here? From the array, I will get socket or connected socket ID I will get from here. And once I got the connected socket ID, then I will be letting the other users know. So io dot to, this is where I have to send the message. So connected socket connected socket ID, this is where I have to send the message. What do I have to emit over there? And again the type is gonna be user left. So this is the type that I'm defining from my own side. And what am I gonna be sending? I'm just gonna be sending socket.io, and that's it. Not socket.io, socket.id I'm gonna be sending from here. So this is how other users are being notified. Apart from this particular thing, what else can I do? Notify the other users. Find the name of the path or room, just like this. Once this particular thing is done, after that what do we have to do? We have notified the other users, and once we have notified the other users, after that what do we have to do? user left, remove the user. We have to just simply remove the user. Okay, how can we remove the user? We have to find the index of the user, right, in order to remove that particular user. So we could have done the same thing here, like we looped through it, right? We checked path. No, it is not really possible to do it here. No, never mind. Is it possible to do here? Not really. Okay, let's find the index. So const index is gonna be, I have to find the index of that particular user. So okay, first of all I will have to find the array, then I will be able to find the index. So connections, this is the object dot room path is actually the array, and now I have to find the index. So there is a method called find index over here, because this is the array. So you can even use this one as well, but just above we use something like index of, let me even check whether it actually works or not. So